everyone, so it's response time for that Ask Me Anything video I put out earlier in the week. Not a lot of responses, which is perfectly fine. I kind of anticipated that to happen because it is a new thing I'm doing and it's kind of not typical to the channel. But I did get a couple questions on there and I'll address it. And I'll also even throw on an extra little thing as well. But let's get right to it. I'm not going to waste any time, so let's get right to the questions. All right, so first question that came up was from William, and it was, I'm going to read it right off here. Car engine makes a tapping sound on a cold start but goes away after engine warms. What do you think it could be? Okay, so first, actually, aside from William asking that question, I was going to answer it, and I will because there's a couple of extra things. Another follower of subscriber to my channel actually responded to him. So I'll read his response because he kind of nails it partially right on for as was the most common issue. So I'll read it directly off there, and you can check the other video. I'll have it linked there. You can check the other video for his full response because he has some other good tips in there too. But Shannon responds with 99.9% normal for many engines to make a tapping noise at startup for a second or two. The noise is oil pressure that hasn't built up yet. And then he goes on to say, as a former ASE certified technician, I wouldn't worry about it beyond making sure your oil level is correct and that it doesn't happen beyond that 2 or 3 seconds. Now, again, he does have some other stuff in there about different oils, manufacturing, and starter protection, stuff like that. So if you want to read the comments there, maybe I'll even post it below just because it's some pretty good information. But let's get into that, shall we? So first, he's 99.9% correct. Many cars, almost all of them, as they age and stuff like that, this is a common thing. It happens all the time. You will hear that on cars. It's what you're hearing is particularly is kind of the valve lifters. They start making some noise until the oil kind of comes up from the pan and kind of lubricates everything. So you hear kind of that little bit of play, and you're hearing that tick, 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 tick. And then as the engine warms up, then the oil comes in and then the noise goes away. All sorts of people throw different things out there, put a higher grade oil or a different viscosity, all sorts of stuff, but you don't really need to do all that. Typically, that's where the issue comes from. Additionally, there are 2 other issues that can come up that are very common and not a big deals. One of them never really leads to anything big, another one that kind of does. So one of them is called piston slap. This is not something that is very common. Also, it is something that if it is happening, it will eventually lead to damage to the engine, but it takes some time. Essentially, what's happening is as the engine wears out and stuff, you have the piston going up and down in the whole combustion cycle. Well, as it's doing its downward cycle, the piston, especially when the engine's cold, everything's cold, so the piston has some room to kind of move as it's coming down the cylinder, and it contacts the inside cylinder wall, and it makes this kind of tap noise, right? As it warms up, as it warms up, things expand. So some of the aluminum that's in there, or some of the piston rings or anything, will expand out and kind of push against the wall and stop that play from happening. But that could be it too, right? A way to kind of know if that is start up your car. So this is best actually, especially if the tick's not happening very prolonged. Have someone wait till the car's completely cold, start the car up, and listen for where the tick is coming from. If the tick is happening from low down into the engine, it could be piston slap because your valves are on the top and your pistons are down below. 9 times out of 10 though, you're going to hear the ticking coming from the top. And again, that could be, as Shannon had mentioned, that could be just oil coming into the lifters. That other thing is where you have carbon buildup in the combustion chamber. So what you're hearing then is think of it like a sort of misfire, and you're hearing that kind of ticking noise as that happens. As the engine warms up, the actual cylinders themselves, the cylinder combustion part of the cylinder head, and everything kind of expands slightly, creates enough room that the carbon is no longer creating the issue, and the noise goes away. That actually can happen as well. A fix for that actually is you can get some seafoam, put that into your engine, and let it kind of clear out. Read the instructions on the seafoam, use that, and kind of clear it out. That may take care of it too, or at least help alleviate a lot of the noise. Aside from that though, it's actually a very common issue, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. Keep an ear on it. If it's something more than a few seconds, maybe have it looked at. Beyond that, honestly, don't even worry about it. For example, for some of you who have a Grand Prix, it does it. It's actually a little bit of carbon buildup. I know it's an issue I need to resolve, and it's an issue I'll probably do in another video next year. but it's by no means a big deal at all. The car, when it warms up, it's fine. Don't even hear anything. So, you know, it is what it is. All right, so next up, I've got one of my subs. That's right. He asks, why is it my almost brand new QX60 with 30,000 miles on it pulling to the right? I suspect it needs an alignment, but not sure if that's the case for a newer vehicle. Well, there's a few things I want to address with this here, because that is a whole can of worms, actually, because there could be a whole bunch of things on there, right? So number one, to answer directly to the question, yes, a new car can actually technically need an alignment. It does happen. I've seen it happen, and should be covered in any type of warranty or something like that. Well, 30,000 miles, I'm not sure if they'll look at it as a warrantyable item, but technically, I have seen cars new off the lot that needs alignment, believe it or not. It just happens. Sometimes it could be a manufacturer fault, could be a lemon, maybe something wasn't aligned correctly from the factory. You know, could be someone brought, when they're unloading the car off the trailer, they hit a curb, all sorts of stuff, right? I mean, it could happen. So theoretically, yes, it could need an alignment too. Now, that being said, there's a few other things to look at. First thing is, since it's the QX60 we're looking at here, are you noticing this only under heavy acceleration, or is it just even light driving? And the reason I ask that is because the QX60 can have torque steer if you're accelerating kind of heavy. And if you don't know what torque steer is, that's when front wheel drive, or even with the all wheel drive model, if you happen to have the all wheel drive, as you're if there's unequal size drive shafts, it's really only something you see on front wheel drive or all wheel drive, front biased all wheel drive, anyways. Is that as you accelerate, one wheel spins differently than the other. It spins at different speeds. It reacts differently because you have a shorter drive shaft and a longer drive shaft. And so you tend to see the car can pull slightly. Older cars in the 90s used to do it way more, but now they do things in the transmission. They do all sorts of stuff to kind of alleviate all that. Sometimes they use software and the programming of the computer to alleviate that. But it is still a thing that can happen. So is this under heavy acceleration? If it is, could be just torque steer. Now, that said and out of the way, there could be a few other things. Something as simple as low tire pressure could do it. So check your tire pressure first and foremost. And then I would say also check some of your suspension components. I don't know how good you are with it. This is for anyone who's watching here. But, you know, if you've accidentally curbed the car even once, that's enough to bend or damage something, or even just loosen something, throw something out of whack, and that'll be enough to make you need an alignment. It just takes one, and it doesn't even have to be a hard hit. Cars are finicky like that, right? I've seen, you know, sometimes where someone just like gently hits the curb, and it was enough to just slightly bend the bolt, or, you know, slightly bend the control arm. So anything is possible in the car. So keep that in mind when you think about it. Have you ever curbed the car, accidentally run over a curb, accidentally run up on a curb? Anything like that could do it. If you've had any type of accidents, right? Like if someone has hit the back end of your car and they even happen to touch the rim or in the vicinity or anything like that. I know it's a brand new car, but hey, I don't know what the history is of it. So even if that's happened, that's enough to deal with too. So, you know, I saw someone with a Mazda 5 I was working on a few years ago. And someone had hit the car itself. None touched the suspension components, but it hit the car hard enough that when the car slid, it damaged the suspension components, right? So the wheel or suspension wasn't touched itself, but because of any sliding motion or anything like that, it did put pressure on the components and it damaged, I believe it was a strut, if I remember correctly, on that car. So, you know, anything can happen with that. So you want to check your tire pressures, check your suspension components if you can. Bring it for an alignment. Yes, it could definitely need an alignment. But that, to me, alignment's the last thing. I'd say first thing first, is it under heavy acceleration? So this is the order I give it to you. Heavy acceleration first, yes or no? If it's just happening under light acceleration or very little load on the engine, okay, let's look into it. Tire pressure, check that. Check your suspension components, see if there's anything out of play, out of whack, anything loose, anything that looks bent, anything where you see unusual rust patterns, anything like that whatsoever. Then after that, go bring the car in for an alignment and get that done. That's where I would leave it at. Okay, and so the last question I'll throw in, this is kind of a bonus. It wasn't on the video, but I thought it was a good to know, so I thought I'll throw that in there. This is from Jesse, and it was for actually a Trailblazer video on how to upgrade your LED turn signals. Upgrade 2 LED turn signals. And it says, does each blinker light harness need its own resistor, front and back? Now, the reason I'm actually deciding to use this question here for kind of the third one I wanted to answer, is because it's a question I get asked a lot. I have done videos on for Infiniti, Trailblazers, the Grand Prix, I think it was. I think of a couple other cars too on how to upgrade to LED turn signals. And I get asked all the time, do you need to have the resistors? How many do you need and where does it go? And that sort of thing, right? Even if it's in the video. And I kind of get it because there's a few things to kind of look at. So first thing first, if you're doing your front and rear turn signals, typically speaking, you do need to have 4 resistors. There's 4 main turn signals. It's the front and the back, and these are the amber bulbs. And you do need to have the resistors for each one. So you do need 4. Most places will sell it, like if you're on online, eBay, Amazon, anything that will sell all 4 resistors in a pack. Or they'll sell a pack of 2 if you just want to do your front, for example, or your back. Now, this is only for the main bulbs, and these are normally the ones with a 2 or 3 series designation: 2357, 3057, 3157 bulbs, things like that, right? There's a few other ones, but only the kind of the bigger bulbs. Smaller bulbs, like the peanut-sized bulbs, these are 194, 168, things like that, do not need to have resistors at all. They will just flash along with the bulbs. So some cars have multiple signals. They'll have maybe one in the front, the main one on the side. Maybe they have one in the fog light. Maybe they have one in the side mirror. They may have signals all over the place, right? So typically, the ones, the side marker bulbs, if you have ones in your side view mirrors, those are typically smaller bulbs, 194s. You shouldn't need to ever have resistors on those. It's only the bigger bulbs, like again, the 2 or 3 series bulbs, 2000, 3000 series bulbs, that need to have those resistors, and you do need to have 4 all the time. I have actually now tested some cars because some cars actually account. So, okay, so first, let's answer why you need to have the resistors. So, before I get into the whole other thing. So, for the resistors, it's because the car doesn't know how to account for the difference in voltage for the turn signal. So, some cars actually give less voltage, or the way they put the voltage through to the computer, the ECU or anything like that, it looks for certain things, and the reason it needs to do that is so that if the bulb blows, it could say, oh, I'm seeing a difference in voltage, and it does the fast flash, right? So if you don't, if the car doesn't know how to account for that, it'll just think the bulb is bad and do the fast flash. That's why you need the resistors. What the resistors does is it equalizes that difference in the power that comes through, so that way it can actually say, okay, everything's working okay, although you have a bulb that runs completely different from the standard bulbs that are in the turn signals. So that being said, some cars actually can account for this right off the bat. So some cars, you can actually hook up an LED in them and they will work, and you do not need a resistor. That's fine. So I've actually seen some cars, Silverados and stuff like that, where you can put the LED in and it'll work for a while, and then all of a sudden it'll stop working. Something triggers in the computer, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, no, now it's not working, and it'll go off. I don't know what the delay is and how that works, but I've seen that happen. They also have some cars where you can just buy flashers that have the resistors built right in. They actually account for it right off the bat. Some newer cars, though, it's not so easy to do that anymore. Some don't even, the flashers are built into the BCM, so you can't do that. But some of the older cars, you could. A Trailblazer is a perfect example of one where you can get a flash resistor as opposed to just putting in wiring in resistors. It's up to you. So you may need to do some research in that. So I do think that's an interesting point because I get asked that all the time. So I thought I'd just throw that out there and maybe give some explanation as to why you need it as well. So that being said, this is kind of a good way to gauge out if I should do further Ask Me Anythings. I don't think I will, but at least not at this point anyways. And I kind of get that too. I'm not like some hardcore gamer. It's not like something needs to go out there and find out. I'm just a car guy, right? And again, I'm trying different things. But ultimately, what do you guys want to know about your cars? You want to know how to fix your cars? You want to do anything? So I even said it in that November video a little while ago. What I will start looking to do now, just to help out, as I get asked questions, for example, the ones I got asked here, if I see that there could be relevant answers that could apply to many vehicles or to many people or things like that, I'll put videos together every once in a while, whenever I see it, and I'll put those questions out there, whoever asked the questions, and I'll put the answers to go with them, because I think it may be very helpful to have that information. Sometimes the comments get buried down in there, so you may not go. Someone may comment on something that you actually want to know, but it's in a completely different video you may not watch. So I think that's a good idea to look at doing. So we'll look at doing that going forward. But aside from that, I want to thank you guys all once again. I will have a couple more videos that are coming out, but as of filming right now, I am going away for vacation, so the videos are preloaded. They're going to be coming out. You know how YouTube does. And I will be commenting here and there. I know this is probably irrelevant if you're watching this video after I'm back and stuff, but here or there, whatever. I'll be gone for a bit. I'll be commenting here and there. Be seeing some more videos coming out, but officially, you won't hear from me in the live as I am right now. This is December. What are we on? December 20th. Jeez, this I'm filming this right now, December 20th, 2019. I actually won't be filming anything new until 2020. So I'll see you guys then. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you all around. Now the YouTube stuff. I always love a great feedback, so make sure right off the bat to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Now, if you like something on the channel, definitely like it. Give it that thumbs up. If you disliked it, thumbs down for sure. But let me know why. That's what the comment section are for. And whatever it is, if you like something, then I know it's working. And if you dislike something, then I know something didn't. But let me know why, so I can continue to build a channel and make it better for me and for you. Aside from that, commenting is great too. So if there's something you can do better, something you can do different, any tips for other viewers, I'm all about that too. So make sure to put that in there. If you have a question about something that's maybe not even related directly to the video, leave that for me as well. Other than that, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next video.